All right, what is this fucking thing people keep linking? Hold on.
Holy shit, I had no
Oh,
idea
damn.
this dumb cunt got this many views. 4 days ago and 250,000 views? Fucking end my life.
What's this, you fucking piece of shit?
What is that?
This? Huh? What's this, motherfucker?
Yeah, that's some OG shit. That was based Vaush. Back when he would see a woman on YouTube he didn't like and just casually refer to them as a dumb cunt. Does that mean we can use the C word? No, you can't say cunt. All right. I think it's okay to say cunt, but you have to do it evenly. And let's be real. I try to, but I can't. I just more women are cunts. I don't know. Stop. Nope. Stop. 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 I'm British, so I say it. Yeah, British and Australian people are billed differently. They're doing their own thing. Sometimes I wonder if you try to get canceled on purpose. Nobody really takes misogyny that seriously. Especially because it's pretty obvious that I'm like... Oh, hey, speaking of... That's good. Damn. OG fucking Kyle. God damn. That's good. The best part is that it does not have a single like. Yeah, no fat on that joke at all. This joke is lean meat. Not a single like and one retweet, which back then probably would have meant one quote tweet because they didn't show them separately. That is amazing. I actually think there's an element of progressivism to casual misogyny today. Hold on, let me explain. So we all know about trans inclusionary radical misogyny, right? Like, if trans women aren't women, why are they such bitches? Like that, where you affirm the validity of trans people, mostly trans women, because we're talking about misogyny, by being misogynistic to them in the same way you would. Like, the setup is the same way. The setup is you frame a joke in a way where you expect the person to be transphobic towards a trans woman, but instead they're misogynistic, which is offensive, but quietly it's progressive because you can only really be misogynistic in that context if you treated trans women like women. So it's in a way, it's like kind of a... Right, okay. So we all know that, and it's, by the way, it's very funny. The trans inclusionary radical misogyny is very, very funny. And there is, by the way, trans inclusionary radical misandry. That is a thing. It is not as often employed, but it is a thing, where you can make degrading comments about trans men about them being men, I don't know, just some jokes people make about men, like, wow, you don't wipe your ass after you shit. I don't know, just think. I'm sure if you think for a moment, you can construct. And of course, the affirmation is, they're being derided for a masculine characteristic. Whatever. Just, I don't know. Just workshop it. You can, yeah. Anyway, so you have all of that. But one of the things that I think is interesting about misogyny in the way that it's currently framed is that for the most part, the right actually puts up a front of pro female political advocacy when attacking trans people. Like, take a look at how the people on the right talk about women. For the most part, it's not so much casual misogyny as it is a kind of patronizing assumption of domesticity, or, of course, you have, like, the appropriated TERF talking points. Because you have people who are not feminists who use TERF talking points. We need to protect women in prisons against these fake women, that kind of stuff, They do this all the time because TERF talking points are kind of more effective than just regular transphobia. So in a way, they have to front the aesthetic of feminism in order to adopt the transphobia a little bit more effectively. Now, with all that being said, there is still this patronizing assumption of domesticity. Do you guys remember the TPUSA event we saw with Charlie Kirk? Where the woman was like, we're boss-ass Barbies. We want kids and to be business bitches. And then Charlie Kirk came out there and he was like, yes, you'll all be great breeding factories. I don't know. You can get a job if you want, but yeah. Yeah. Go you. And then he walked off. You know? That's basically what happened, right? I'm not misremembering. That's pretty much exactly the thing that happened, right? I'm pretty sure that is. So that is highly misogynistic, but it's not deriding like misogyny. It's not like misogyny where the punchline is that women are worse. To put it another way, conservatives believe women are worse than men, but they act as though they only think women are different than men, that they have different things they're good at. So, with all of that being said, in a funny way, it seems like people on the left reject that patronizing pseudo-benevolent sexism by being regular misogynists as a joke. Like when you make jokes about women being worse or whatever, I don't see people on the right make that much. At least not through official channels. And in a way, it seems like a kind of subversive poking at the false assumption of feminist pretenses to attack trans people. Does that make sense? Like, in a way, it's like cutting through the thick of it to poke fun at the underlying misogyny rather than playing along with the pretenses that are being made. Does that make any sense? I'm trying to... I feel like I'm on the cusp of something here, but I'm also on the cusp of, like, sounding like a lunatic. But I genuinely believe this to be the case. This is the reason why edgy left-leaning people make a lot of, like, kind of, like, jokey, misogynistic jokes. But, like, I don't think people get offended about it that much. I mean, maybe a little bit, but it seems to be the thing I get canceled for the least. I mean, I get canceled for a lot of stuff. This is by far the thing I get canceled for the least. And I make misogynistic jokes every goddamn stream, far more than I've made every other problematic comment in my entire career combined. And even though it's just jokes, so are a lot of things that I've gotten canceled for. So what makes the difference? I think the difference is that people understand that the premise of malicious misogyny when framed for comedy is something which is fundamentally, at least when used by left-leaning people, kind of a tool to satirize actual misogyny, more so than like the way racist jokes get used. Because there are plenty of ways to do racist jokes where it's a joke, but you just make people racist with the joke. Like, the only punchline of a racist joke is, haha, I think black people are worse. And then there's not really anywhere to go with that. People don't make ironic racist jokes as much on the left because it doesn't seem like there's as much of comedic potential to undermine or to satirize a disingenuous attempt at fronting the rights of those groups. How do I feel like I need to think about this for a few more days. Maybe it's also about pushing the line back a little bit. Like, we don't really fight over women's rights that much in the public sphere. Obviously, the fight for abortion rights is, like, very, very active right now, and we should take it seriously. But in terms of, like, what do people on the left and the right argue about? It's not really women. It's mostly trans people, political happenings, immigration, that kind of stuff. But not really just women. That's not usually what people argue about right now. Maybe 10 years ago, like in 2011, 2012. But now, not so much. And that kind of feels like maybe by making misogynistic jokes, you're bringing us back to a line of discourse that's not used much anymore, and it turns it into a, almost like making fun of British people, you know? Like, I can say some really terrible stuff about British people, but when people hear it, they don't take it seriously. But the thing is, if you went back a couple hundred years, malicious comments about different European nations were the serious basis of real warfare. Like, right now, British and French people making fun of each other is just like, ah, you know. But 500 years ago, British and French people making fun of each other, that's like the N-word. They're gonna go to war. This is like a serious thing now. It's real back then. There's a very material consequence to their to the battle here, you know? There's like real bigotry there, you know? It's not really that manifest today, but does that make any sense? I don't know. This sounds cancelable, not gonna lie. Look, take this as what it should be interpreted as. A completely unfiltered stream of consciousness that is not very formed out in my head. I do think there is a legitimate, understandable, and reasonable explanation for why ironic misogyny is not just more or less acceptable in some spaces on the left, but is actually explicitly progressive. I think that is doable. I think it's possible to explain that. There might be more to it than what I'm getting at. In fact, there almost certainly is. There almost certainly is. Maybe I'll think about it more. But you guys get kind of where I'm coming from. I mean, God, even Contra does this. Doesn't Contra also do this? Contra's videos are kind of full of like misogynistic jokes a little bit, aren't they? It's always like this kind of playful derision of femininity in a way where she's making fun of herself, but she's also making fun of sort of the frivolity of some elements of femininity, you know, of womanhood. And of course, people of color make these jokes about people of color. I can't make those jokes about people of color, you know, because they would be taken in a different context. But I think there is an underlying validity to that. I mean, we all like the Boondocks, don't we? You know who likes the Boondocks? People on the left like the Boondocks. People on the right, I mean, sometimes they like, but for the most part, people on the right don't like the Boondocks as much. And why? The Boondocks is, to be clear, full of racist jokes. It is completely packed full of racist jokes at the expense of black people. But it's considered a progressive show, and progressives tend to like it. People on the right like the Boondocks? Maybe. Do you think Boondocks might fit in that groove in the center where it's really good progressive satire, but it's not clear enough in its intention that right-leaning people like it as well? So it's one of those issues where everyone likes it, but for opposite reasons. Does that make sense? I know left-leaning people like Boondocks. I don't think I've ever seen a left-leaning person get mad at Boondocks, you know? I don't know. Yeah, just like early Chappelle Show. Ah, that's true! The early Chappelle Show. And the other guy, the one who stopped making that joke? What was it? Was it Chris Farley? No. Was it the guy? There's black people, and then there's... Chris Rock. Thank you. Chris Rock. Yeah, there's black people, and then there's N-words. And it's a funny joke. And I get the joke, by the way. But racist people laughed at it. He said he stopped making that joke because you know, white people laughed at it too much, and he felt like they were laughing at it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. It really sucks, because I feel like, I don't know. Look, I'll say this much. I see a lot of people shit talk me from the right. I've never seen any of them go, hey, I don't like Vaush, but that joke he made about women was based. There's something about the way I make those jokes that makes them repellent to people who are otherwise misogynistic. You know what I mean? There's something about it. There's some element to it. And it could be just because they dislike me that much, but you'd think that statistically, for my size, and for how many people have seen me, and for how long I've been doing this, I would see some underlying current like, oh yeah, you know, Vaush is cringe, but this misogyny he seems to keep hitting on, that's cool, you know? Because I've seen right-leaning people who are willing to jump on reactionary tendencies from people on the right. Destiny, for example, like, he's spent more time fighting the right than I have, but he makes some comments about trans people, and he's getting retweets from Paul Joseph Watson and Ian Miles Chong and shit, so whatever he's doing there clearly appeals to the right, you know? That's a very different... Does that make any sense? Like, there's something about that that does not have the same repelling force that I don't know. Well, you get what I'm saying. I don't know. There's the horseshoe theory of humor. Not a horseshoe theory was real. Everything is a horseshoe theory. All reality, I don't know. Not to invoke the British, but this is basically how British humor works. Don't invoke the British. Don't. But by this logic, you as a masculine person shouldn't be able to get away with misogynistic jokes. Well, I don't believe that. Look, I can get canceled for this, but fundamentally, look, okay, I'm an alchemist. I believe it's possible to make satirical anti-racist racist jokes no matter what your race is. It gets harder depending on your demographic characteristics, but I think it's totally possible to do it. Now, like alchemy, the more difficult the project, the more likely it ends in flames. So, you know, test at your will. And I like living, so I'll stay where I am. But I think that maybe it's easier to pull off with misogyny because it feels like there's less immediate cultural antagonism. Right now, we're at a very high point when it comes to like racial tension in this country. But a decade ago, that was less the case, you know? You can take a look at like year by year polling on how Americans feel with regards to what are race relations like. And in the years where people think race relations are good, it feels like you can get away with more. And when things are worse, it feels like you can't. In large part because when things are worse, people expect more of everyone involved. You know? Didn't Louis C.K. drop multiple N-bombs in multiple specials? Yeah, and if I remember correctly, people weren't that mad about it. I know Louis C.K. is a big meme now, but his earlier stand-up was pretty good, and I don't remember people getting that mad about it. Mostly because the words weren't being used in an attempt to deride people. I did, however, recently rewatch some of his earlier stand-up, and I ended up finding it didn't age as well as I expected it to. There were parts that were pretty funny, but he's gotten a lot worse with time. Man, he's gotten worse. I saw some of his recent stuff, you know, after all male comedians convinced themselves that they were being canceled and that the woke mob was silencing them just because people didn't like their jokes as much as they used to. And man, he got a lot worse. Everything, the pacing, the delivery, just everything about it just sagged, you know? Yeah. But he was, yeah, a decade ago, I think his stuff was pretty good. For the most part. His being white is better joke was just him explaining white privilege he's sometimes based. That's completely true. That was a pretty base joke. Yeah. The what was it? If somebody could, like, he said something like, you know, and I like being white. And if somebody asked me if I could, you know, like, choose again, like, re-up my card, you know, like, what do you want to be? You want to be black? You want to be Asian? You want to be, he'd be like, no, I want to be white. Being white's the best. I can time travel any point in history, and I'm fine. You know? If I'm black, anything past the 80s, you know, it was a good clip. It was, hold on, I'll just play this, okay? This is one of those, you know, ironic, this isn't even ironic racism, it's just anti-racism. Hold on. Louis C.K. White. Can I play the audio without it? No, that's not it. If somebody in chat can pull up the link, I can show it. Searching through stand-up comedy clips is really tough because you have no idea. Yeah, it was part of a big special, but usually gets broken down into little 2-minute-long segments, and you know what I'm talking about. And Tropic Thunder had blackface. Did you ever see like Gen Z kids getting super angry at Tropic Thunder's blackface? Oh my god, I couldn't believe it, dude. That shit was so funny. And Robert Downey Jr., like, just a year ago said he had no regrets over that blackface, which, good, he shouldn't, because it was very funny. And also, it was explicitly anti-racist in the context of the text. Look at that. Yeah, no, that is literally the joke. I mean, like, imagine, like, watching American History X and canceling it because the guy in it is racist. Like, yeah, that's... Yeah. He said he'd never do it today. Well, you can't get away with it today. Yeah, you couldn't get away with it today. And you couldn't get away with Blazing Saddles today, probably. Which sucks, because they're good, but, yeah. Vaush, we could absolutely get away with Blazing Saddles today. Don't be that guy. Maybe? 50-50? We got Borat? Not the same thing. We're talking about releasing, let's say, an incisive commentary at the height of racial tension over the past half century. Maybe in 5 years we could do Blazing Saddles, and 5 years ago we could do Blazing Saddles, but right now, at this moment, I don't think so. You're only canceled if you let it. Just ignore those people. Okay, you tell Hollywood that. A funnier Django Unchained? Nah. You want to know the main difference? The racists in Django Unchained have holes bored in their skulls by the guns of the black protagonist, okay? The racists in Blazing Saddles are the townspeople we're half meant to sympathize with. They're just stupid, ignorant, dumb fucks who are ultimately the victims that need to be saved by the black protagonist. Big difference. Django Unchained read like a revenge fantasy, and that's fine. That's totally fine. I love that movie. But Blazing Saddles isn't a revenge fantasy against racism. It's not at all. It's a black guy dealing with racism and trying his best because of it, and the racism is comedically played, like constantly played for laughs, you know? It's a different vibe. I love both. I'm just...
Sorry I'm being so negative. I'm a bummer. I don't know. I shouldn't be. I'm a very, lucky guy. I got a lot going for me. I'm healthy. I'm relatively young. I'm white, which thank God for that shit, boy. That is a huge leg up. Are you kidding me? Oh, God, I love being white. I really do. Seriously, if you're not white, you're missing out, because this shit is thoroughly good. But let me be clear, by the way. I'm not saying that white people are better. I'm saying that being white is clearly better. Who could even argue? If it was an option, I would re-up every year. Oh, yeah, I'll take white again. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. All right. Whatever a bastard segment this is going to be, just cut it here. Just cut it here.